Right, so we're up to Siman Chavvov, and Mr. Shem will try and do a bit of Siman Chav Zayin as well. So Siman Chavvov, Din mi she'eino ela tefillah achas. What happens if you only have one tefillin shel yad, or only tefillin shel rosh? Is it worth putting it on? Do you put it? Is it a mitzvah that you only can do together? If you don't have both, you only put on one. So that's what we're going to discuss. Says the Mechaba, Im ein lo ela tefillah achas. If a person only has one of the tefillin, meniach oisa sheyesh lo, he puts on whatever that he has. Umevarech aleha. In other words, they're not shekol achas mitzvah b'fnei atzmo. Each tefillin is a separate mitzvah. The tefillin shel yad and the tefillin shel rosh are separate mitzvahs. V'hu adin im yesh lo shteihem. And so too, if a person has both the tefillin shel yad and the tefillin shel rosh, v'yesh lo shum oinus, and never Rachman litzlan, he has some sort of oinus, some sort of impossible situation, she'eni yochel oniach el achas, that he can only put on one. Meniach oisa sheyochel, you put on one, whichever one you can. Says the Mishnah Berurah, it's Sif Cotton Aleph, Shum Oinus, Kagoin. Sheyesh le Makka Bareisha Bizrael. If he's got some sort of injury on his head or on his arm, and therefore he can't put on the tefillin on that, on the head or on the arm, or he's traveling, and the caravan, in other words, the coach that he's traveling on, are not going to wait for him. They won't give him time to put on both. He only has quickly time to put on one. He puts on the one that he can. And Rachman Islam, you have in the Holocaust, in these sort of situations where you have, they smuggled in a tefillin shel yad, the marshal, to the camps. So you hear stories like this. So you put on, because each one is a separate mitzvah. If you can't put on both because there isn't, then fine. But whatever you can do, you do. So in that situation with a caravan where you haven't got time, you've got 1 minute. Literally, the coach is going in 1 minute, so you haven't got time to put on both. So which is preferable, the tefillin shel yad or the tefillin shel rosh? What do you think? Why? Oh, so yesh omrim. Some say that you put the tefillin shel rosh on because that's got a heightened kedusha. It's kedusha chamura. You put the shel yad on because the Torah says you put the shel yad on first. When is this true? That's only you put the shel yad on first if you can put the other one afterwards. But if you can't put on the second one later, then you put on the shel yad and the shel rosh before you leave your house, because delaying your journey is not a good enough reason to be mevatel the mitzvah of tefillin. Okay. So the important halacha that emerges from Sif Aleph is that mitzvahs, the tefillin are separate mitzvahs, and if for whatever reason you can only put on one, you put on one. Says the Vait in the Mechaba, halacha base, im eine maniach ele shel rosh levad, if you only put on the shel rosh, mevarech oleh al mitzvahs tefillin levad. You make the bracha of al mitzvahs tefillin. Oledidan, says the Ramah, according to us, Minhag Ashkenaz, where we make two brachas, mevarech al shel rosh levad shtei brachas. You make two brachas on the shel rosh. In other words, for whatever reason, you've only got a shel rosh, and you just put that on. You make two brachas, lo niach and al mitzvahs tefillin. V'meniach shel yad levad mevarech lo niach levad. If, however, says the Ramah, you only put on the shel yad, then you just make the bracha of lahoniach. Says the Mishnah Berurah, this is going on the remark. Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Amadal Ayin Sham. Okay, that's what we've done already. Mavarech lahoniach, i.e., says the Ramah that if you've only got the tefillin shel yad, you just make the bracha of lahoniach. Says the Mechaba, says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Gimel, Mavarech lahoniach. I'm a prima godim. Shehevi oid paiskim the svir lehu the afal shel yad levad. Nami mevarech shtei brachas. The Prima Godim brings other achreinim who say that even if you're just putting on the shel yad, you still make two brachas of lahoniach and al mitzvahs tefillin. V'lahalacha hiskimu achreinim de'ena mevarech al shel yad ela lahoniach levad. However, like the Ramah says, the achreinim conclude that if you're only putting on the shel yad, you just make that bracha of lahoniach. The belav hachi haber rishonim sfir lehu ta'afilo shtei nami ena mevarech la'achas. Because after all, many Rishonim also are of the opinion that even lechatchila, if you're putting on the shel yad and then the shel rosh, you only make one bracha anyway. What happens if you put on both? Yeah, you're putting on the shel yad and the shel rosh, and you forgot, you're tired, whatever, and you forgot how to make a bracha. The hadin hu divarech kol zman she'en alav adayim. We mentioned this previously. So long as you're still wearing the tefillin, it's still possible to make the bracha. Im higdim bircha shel rosh tchila v'achkach shel yad. If you put on the shel rosh first, and then you put on the shel yad, ein chayzer mevarech. You don't make the bracha again. Even if you put on the shel yad and you didn't make the bracha, you try and make the bracha on that before you put on the shel rosh. Okay, that's the end of Siman Chavav. Siman Chav Zayin. Mokum hanachoson va'ifin hanachoson. Where do you actually put the tefillin and how do you put it on? So this is a very important siman, and sometimes you do see people wearing tefillin in places where the halacha it just doesn't work. They're not putting the tefillin on. It's so one has to know. So both the shel yad and the shel rosh. Sometimes the shel yad is hidden; it's less easy to see. But sometimes they're wearing in places where it's just not putting it on properly. Says the Mechaber, Malkum hanochason shel yad bizroya small. The place to put the tefillin on is on your left arm. Bebosa hatapuach shebe'etzem, on the bosa tapuach. Oh yeah, this is fabulous. Yeah, good idea. On the bosa tapuach. Oh, very good. The bosa tapuach, which means the muscle over there, the bicep. There's a bone which goes from the shoulder down to the elbow, and and there's a muscle all the way along. But it's going to be on the sort of the mound which we call the bicep. So says the Mechaber, on that bone which is between the elbow and the armpit. When you put the tefillin on, it should be turned a little bit towards the body. That when you straighten out your arm, you put your arm down, the tefillin should be facing your heart, towards your body. These words in the Parashat Shema should be al levavecha, therefore it's pointing towards the heart. You put it on the reish ha'etzem, on the top of the bone, which is somach l'kuvodai, which is close to the bicep, which is close to the elbow. And not on the upper part of the bone, which is closer to the armpit. So it's that bone which goes down from the shoulder down to there. It should be closer to that part and not higher up there. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah. Small. So why do we put it on our left arm? Small medichsiv yodcha. Yeah, it says in the parasha yodcha. It's spelled in an unusual way. Yud dalad chof hey, which pirush yad keha. So one of the pshatim is yad keha, the weaker arm. Dahainu hasmal shehi tusha v'cheya, which is weaker than the right arm. V'aydarshu medichsiv ukshartim uchsavtam maksiva b'yamin. Most people write with their right arm, with their right hand. So since the kshir has got to be done with the right arm, you're wrapping it with the right arm. Then automatically hanocha b'smal, the hanocha, the placement has got to be on the left arm. And therefore, if a right-handed person puts it on his right hand, then even b'diavad is not yotza.
The guy here who puts on two.
Yes. So first of all, a couple of points. Number one, what is the nafkamina between the two reasons? La halacha, you put the tefillin on the left hand. We all put on for a right-handed person, you put it on the left hand. Why? Either because yad kshartim is al yodcha, yad keha, the weaker arm, or kshartim uchsavtem, just like the ksivas with the yamin, the kshir has got to be with the min as well. And since the kshir is done with the right hand, you're putting it on your left hand. What's the nafkamina? You get people who their stronger arm is their right arm, but they write with their left, or vice versa. So the shaila is, which is the most important reason? So that's a big machlekas. That's one discussion, and another discussion is this: what if you're ambidextrous?
Fine, he does it.
Really, yeah. I know Rabbi Joe Grunfeld does it. And so there are different ways of doing it. Sometimes you take it off and you put it on both arms. There are different ways. If you watch Joe Grunfeld, he does it. He went to Rabbi Yashav like 50, 60 years ago, whatever it was, and he got a psak from Rabbi Yashav many, many decades ago. And that's an interesting. That was my son's mitzvah drasha. So if you want details, I can let you have all the details. Okay, weiter. Sif got in base, but bosa hat tapuach. So you put the tefillin shel yad on the bicep. For whom makam hanikra kibayres b'loshen chazal, it's called the kibayres. For who leikuva, and this is leikuv. If you don't put it on the right place, you haven't done the mitzvah of tefillin. Because yafin lezeh b'gemara mikra, that the Gemara learns out from a pasuk. Hakuvodo hanikra elboigenin. Yeah, you can already sounds like the elbow. Yeah, the targum is marpek, the elbow. Sif kotten daled bereisha etzem. Ein ratzon leima reisha etzem mamish. Doesn't mean mamish on top of the bone. The hosmadayin nama chabasa, because there are some parts on the arm where the flesh is quite flat. Until the bicep, until the muscle actually rises a little bit, that's not yet the makom tefillin. The ein ze Hashem kibaris, because it's not called the bicep in terms of halacha. On the higher part of the muscle on the bone. The Ramah is not coming to teach me anything new. What he's saying, his main point is that when you've got this bone from the elbow to the armpit, it shouldn't be on the top part of the bone. It should be on the part which is near the elbow. Even though there is a bit of muscle on the upper part. And also the Mechaba agrees that it should be on the lower part of the bone. It's on the lower half of the bone. The dinner. The Gra says, be'etzem, any part of the muscle would be okay, even if it's higher up. The Prisha says the same. I'll call upon him. Lower down on the kiburis is possible according to everyone. Therefore, it's preferable to avoid putting on, if some people have very large tefillin. Especially days and years ago, the minhag was to wear these very large tefillins. You see some people today even wear the very large tefillin. Ki al piroiv matzu b'tefillin gedolim shesoif haktitza munachas l'matzah makan kiburis. Because if you're wearing very large tefillin, some part of the bias is going to be lower than the kiburis. Im lo sheyikshim lechatchila b'chatzi ha'etzem elyon, unless you secure it very firmly. V'gam ze lo nochen lahakel lechatchila b'zeh. And therefore one shouldn't be makel. Even though the Gon has one opinion, the Maisa, the Mechab and the Ramah, Machmir. If that's all you've got, then if there's no other choice, then you put them on the further up. Adayin bosat tapuach is still called the bicep, and therefore that would still work. The yetze bezel kol ponim das agra, and lefi the gra you'll be in yetze in the mitzvah. Washar poiskim. Memashu munochim lematzah mimokim akaberes v'lo yetze bezel ali b'tekulama. That you put it lower down, the kulama you wouldn't work. The gama brochi levatola, in that situation, the bracha would also be levatola. Okay, let's go back and finish off the Mechaba. The Ramah. Gidem, sad situation if a person is missing an arm. Gidem, i.e., she'en lo yad, rak zroya. A person has got an arm, but from the elbow down, it's missing. What should he do? Yoniach b'loi bracha. He puts on without a bracha. That's quoting the Tosfos, etc., and the Arzura. Says the Mishnah Berurah, she'en lo yad, rotzoloma, shenitel pisas yad smoiloi, the parts of his left arm is missing. Im kol hakonev, the forearm, at hakovda, until the elbow, shenikra elbogenin. So that from the elbow down he's missing that arm. Avonim nisha ktsas me'akona gam ha'arzarua moedel atoysos t'chayev b'tefillin v'yivorach gam kein. But the Arzarua says that if he has got some limb beyond the elbow, the forearm is there and it's missing, at some point there, then he not only puts on the tefillin, but he makes it with a bracha. That it sounds like they've just recently come across the Arzarua, it seems like. Below bracha, Ayin beveh halacha. V'im ein lo yad smole klal. If he hasn't got a left arm whatsoever, afilu ktsas hazroa shel mala mimokam hakeberes, so he's just got like a little stump by the armpits, or mokam hakeberes ein klal, but he hasn't got the bicep. He's just got like a little stump by the shoulder. Potter meloniach shel yad af b'min. Then he is potter from tefillin shel yad, and he doesn't even put it on the right arm. V'yesh machmir b'zeh, and there are some who are machmir. V'chol zeh shenasa gidim b'smol hu mokam hanochos tefillin. That's only if he became gidim b'smol, which is the mokam hanochos tefillin. But if he's missing, avlim nasa gidim kim b'yamin. But if Rahman Islam is missing the right arm, then he's got a left arm. Afilu nikdar yo kol hayad. He hasn't got a right arm whatsoever. Chayev b'tefillin. He is chayev b'tefillin. V'yivakesh la'cherim shanichlu alav. Obviously, he hasn't got a right arm, so he can't put on tefillin because he's putting the tefillin on his left arm. He's only got one arm, so he should ask someone else to put the tefillin on. I remember a person's had a stroke and he hasn't got the use of his right arm. I remember he got his wife to put the tefillin on. So just to summarize, Rachmana litzlan, if a person's only got one arm, if a person has got above the elbow, he's only got there, then he puts on without a bracha. If he's got beyond the elbow, at some point in the forearm, he puts on with a bracha. If, unfortunately, he doesn't have an arm at all, and even just a stump over there, then there's no point putting on his right arm. If, however, he's got his right arm is incapacitated, or he hasn't got a right arm, and he's only got a left arm, he should be mevakesh. He should ask someone else to put on the left arm. Say that. Okay.